صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما أما بعد يقول الله في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم عطروا أفواهكم بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Islam is an all-inclusive way of life. There isn't anything in life except that Islam has interfered with, has a presence with. In all aspects of life, you find that either the Holy Prophet ﷺ or the Imams of Ahlul Bayt have a presence in. In whatever aspect we may be dealing with, Islam is not just another religion. It's not just another random faith. That's why they're called faith. Faith, by definition, is the belief in something in the absence of evidence. You believe in something without any evidence, that's called faith. Islam is not faith. Islam is a way of life. We in the religion of Islam believe that our practice and our tenets and our ideology can be substantiated subjectively with rationale and logic. Everything we believe in, we have confidence in. Otherwise, what's the point of religion? If you don't have confidence in it, why are you following? If you don't truly believe in what you believe, then what's the point of it? Otherwise, this wouldn't be considered a way of life. This would just be considered a belief system. However, the religion of Islam is not just a set of laws. It's not just another faith like the other faiths. It's not a random color. This one is blue, that one is green, that's red, and Islam happened to be this particular color. No, it's a way of life. Because whatever aspect there is in life, you find the presence of Islam is there. With that being said, we acknowledge that as Muslims who reside in 21st century society, Western world, that we go through obstacles in life that may face us as difficult. When we find these obstacles, it's always vital to return back to our faith, as mentioned, our evidence, our belief, our religion, to return back to it and see, because I believe that in every aspect of my religion, it has an interference and presence in, let's see if I find an interference in this obstacle that's in front of my life from my religion. What do I mean? When I think about our wonderful Muslimin, especially the Muslimat, the Mu'minat, the sisters. Today, earlier we had a program especially particular for the sisters. When I think about them, I truly will never be able to understand how it feels to wear a hijab in the morning, riding a train, going to college, taking, let's say, an hour at like 7 a.m. I will never understand the pressure that is. I don't know how that feels. That's why there's so much more emphasis on the nobility and status of Muslim women in our faith, for they truly, upon seeing them, represent Islam to me. I may look at another brother that is Muslim, Shi'i, whatever, but I don't necessarily know what they are. I can't tell by their look if they're Muslim, Shi'i, Sunni, Sufi. I can't tell. But for a Muslimah, by virtue of wearing the hijab of Fatimah al-Zahra, I instantly can tell she's a Muslimah. That's it. So there's a lot more emphasis on our sisters to be patient, to be forbearant, to be robust, that there will be challenges in life, especially in today's society. Do you know that Pew Research has showed statistically in 2016 alone there was a spike in Islamophobic actions occurring. That Islamophobia increased 16% in 2016. 16% in relation to what? In relation to 9/11. Back in 9/11, that was the height of Islamophobia for Muslims in the West. Sikhs were getting killed because they wore turbans, and people thought that, oh, they wear turbans, they must be Muslim. It reached that level. It was terrible. 2016, 16% worse. Why? We find Islamophobia became rampant. And so I have the utmost respect for our Muslimat, our sisters, our daughters, our mothers, our relatives that don the headscarf and live in a society. I know in where I come from, Michigan, the community is a bit more concentrated with Muslims. That's a bit easy there. However, in a place like Texas, I mean, I can only imagine how difficult some situations may be and the obstacles that they face. And it's not just the sisters, including the brothers. That unfortunately you'll find certain events that will come in your face, and there'll be sad events. Either it's bullying, either it's abuse, either it's harassment, just because of the way you practice or what you believe, or even where you come from. Let's refer back, as mentioned earlier, to our faith and see to our belief systems. As we mentioned, faith is the belief in something with the absence of evidence. Now, we believe in our religion 100% with confidence. Let's refer back to that and see, how do we overcome said obstacles by using the lessons and principles that our religion has brought forth. And it's not just any other religion. It's a way of life indeed. You look at just the concept of God. Let's begin at the beginning, at the start. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I want to overcome obstacles in my life, amongst them will be discourses and debates and perhaps even arguments, especially in today's society. We have a widespread effect of atheism. Atheism amongst just typical students and even amongst Muslims. Unfortunately, it's sad to say that there are Muslims today that are just leaving the folds of Islam. Why? Because they look at certain rules in Islam they can't understand. Or they look at certain actions done in the name of Islam they can't understand. And they immediately use that to define Islam for them. I mean, at the end of the day, who defines Islam? Allah or people following it? Some say that the worst, there was a very interesting Irish political activist and playwright, George Bernard Shaw. He says that Islam is the best religion with the worst followers. The best religion, worst followers. People kill in the name of Islam, but who they kill other Muslims. People fight about the most pathetic reasons. Have you seen some people today when they fight about the most about Islamic reasons, but they're pathetic? Especially in our community. Which marja' do you follow? You follow that marja', astaghfirullah, don't talk to me. Is that the way we should conduct ourselves? What happened to إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ? What happened to وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ? What happened to all of that? Did not Rasulullah say, ضَرُوا الْمِرَاءَ فَإِنَّ الْمُمَارِ لَا أَشْفَعُ لَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ? Stay away from petty arguments and the best word I can use is stupid subjects to debate. Don't stay away from that. I will not intercede for you on the day of judgment if you argue about petty stuff such as this. So refer back to our belief system and see where do we stand amongst these obstacles and how do we overcome them. We have to first start small. I stand as a person that believes in God. Before I begin saying I'm a Muslim, Shi'i, I believe in this, no, stop. I believe in God. Question, in today's society, with the widespread effect of atheism, you might be confronted as Muslim youth. So how do we address this? I am not trying to tell you, come and prove God. I'm trying to tell you, let's try explaining God rationally, that this effect of atheism may come at a halt when it comes to you. Because when it comes to other people, it overcomes them. It takes them. Shame on the person who, when they are confronted with a difficult question, they just submit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. Exactly. You know, I think you're probably right. Imam Ali alayhi salam would say that النَّاسُ أَعْدَاءُ مَا جَهِلُوا, that people are enemies to that which they are ignorant. Do you know what that means? That which you are ignorant, you will become an enemy to it normally. You see, where do we see this sort of example today? A couple days ago, a 7-year-old girl at the border of Texas and Mexico died from dehydration. You know, the immigration issues that we have today in this nation. People are afraid. Why? I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know what they want. I don't know what they believe in. Because I don't know, I am now afraid. الناس أعداء ما جهلوا. Okay, if you don't know, what's the answer to it? Go and know. So education is the answer and the solution to ignorance. The more you know, the less ignorant you become. So you don't become an enemy to that which you don't know. You become a friend to that which you do know, according to Imam Ali alayhi salam. So I will say, no, I am confident in my belief. It's not just another faith or another religion. I will then use that confidence to address issues. God is number one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this subject is a very complicated subject. Philosophers will philosophize. Thinkers will think. And at the end of the day, the results are always muddy and unclear. But speaking from a basic, elementary level, on the elementary level, brothers and sisters, if I could have your attention, inshallah. On the elementary level, when you ask somebody, we are all created from something, they say yes. Can something come from nothing? They say no. Can 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 ever equal 1? You say no. So how did we come into existence? Science, where did that then come from? You keep going back, reverse and reverse. If you acknowledge that you are created, you must acknowledge that there is a creator. I may look at something insignificant like a ring. For example, a ring. If I say this was created, then I have to, if I respect my intellect, say that there is a creator. Otherwise, I'm not going to say this just popped into existence one day. How insignificant is this ring to you? Very insignificant. I can live without it. It's not that important. Maybe some of them have meaning. But it's nothing important at all. If you accept that a ring, as insignificant as it is, has a creator, then how about something as significant as the sun? For some reason you accept that that doesn't have a creator. But something like a ring has a creator. Why? Because of how complex the sun is, or how complicated the universe is. So the more complicated it is, the less likely there will be a creator. That's wrong. That's backwards. In fact, it's the other way around, the opposite. The more complicated, the more complex a creation is, this is going to be a little bit like a tongue twister. The more complex a creation is in complication, the more competent the creator becomes. We're going to say that again. The more complex the creation is in complication, the more competent the creator becomes. Meaning, I look at something like an iPhone X Max, iMac Pro 27-inch 4K Retina display, very complicated pieces of device, you know, Apple products, very complicated. I say that this is so complicated, whoever made it must be so competent. They must be very professional, very skilled. I don't deny that it came into existence. How though? By creation, someone created it. Okay, with that being said, if somebody created it, because it's complicated, that must mean the creator must be professional. The more complicated it is, the more professional, competent the creator becomes. Who, in your opinion, is the most professional, competent artist within the last 1,000 years? Art. Who do you think? I would argue Leonardo Da Vinci. Leonardo Da Vinci was so pro, he was such a boss. He could write backwards in mirror with invisible ink and then read it to you again. How many years did it take for him to paint the Mona Lisa? How many years do you guys think? A million years. No. It took Leonardo da Vinci 12 years just to paint the Mona Lisa. Do you know how long it took him just to paint the lips? 9 years just to paint the lips. I look at something like that and I say, wow, this piece of art, that work of art, look how artists still today and billions of people throughout the years are so shocked and dumbfounded at how wonderful and amazing of a masterpiece this is. Because of how complex it is, the Creator must have been very strong in his skills, or in her skills. Must have been very competent. Indeed it was. So why is it the case that when it comes to something more complicated, more complex, that there isn't a Creator? Why? Because it's confusing to you? That doesn't mean that there is no Creator to it. Just because no human made it does not mean it had no maker. Again, just because no human made the moon, or the galaxies, or the stars, or the earth, does not mean it still wasn't made. At the end of the day, is it present or not? It's present. Something made it. If we reach that point, we're on a good start. If you say, yes, something made it. Mr. Atheist with an atheistic ideology. Something made it. Okay, don't say it's by it. Go ahead. Say the aliens made the sun. Okay, so long as they acknowledge it was made, that's good. Then you now ask, who then made the aliens? If you want to say they created the sun, they'll be like, maybe other aliens. Keep reversing, reversing, reversing. Eventually you reach a stopping point. When you get to that singularity, who started everything? Another thing? How? Then who made that? This is like a paradox. You keep going back in reverse. Eventually there is a beginning. If you respect your intellect, you have to acknowledge that there is a maker for every creation. Then at the one point where it all began, who started it? It has to be God. If you reach that stage, bravo. Okay, God. But everything else, I don't want to believe in. For example, the atheist may argue, I don't want to believe in this concept of nabuwah in the Quran, then everything else, and you get detailed khums and zakat and som and salah. All this, I don't get, but God, I understand. Do you know what that's called? That's called theism and deism. Theists or deists, not atheists. A deist is somebody that believes God came, He intervened, He made the universe, but then He left. There's nothing else. Like He did it and He finished everything. Job well done, that's it. He's no longer there. So don't say, oh God help me, because He's not going to help you. But that is just a solution for the question they may have. Yeah, everything had to have a beginning. It had to have. It must have been God, but we don't believe in everything else. I accept God, but I don't believe in anything else. You know what's wrong with that argument? If you accept God, what's the purpose of our existence? What's the reason? Why would God just make everything and that's it, go home, bye-bye, nothing else? God is normally defined within three definitions. Number one, omnipotent, all good, caring, loving, omniscient, wise, smart, knowledgeable, and infinite. So He's all wise, all merciful, and infinite. So He can't be one without the other. If He is all wise, just all wise, then how do you know He's not good at the same time? If He is wise, He depends on His knowledge. Because if He is wise, then if He is good, then He needs to be wise. Why? Because if He's not wise, then He might make wrong decisions. He might make bad decisions. So because He's all good, He has to be all wise. Otherwise, He would make wrong decisions, which is not wise. Now, because He's all wise, He has to be good. Because why would He become bad if He is wise? He knows the right way, so He is good and wise. However, He's also infinite. Because a God that is limited, that's finite, is not worthy to be worshipped. I can't rely on you, because one day you're going to end. So I have to make sure to believe in the fact that Allah is complete, that Allah lasts. Allah is not temporary. Allah is infinite. These are the basic three definitions people throw at you. In the religion of Islam, that's not enough. In Islam, as a Muslim, that's not enough. When you say God is all smart and knowledgeable, but then He's all loving and good, and then He's infinite, that's not enough. Why? Everyone argues that these are the definitions. Why is that not enough? Because as Islam, we begin as rejecting God. We begin as kuffar. La ilaha, there is no God. And then we add, illallah, except Allah. So we reject God to begin with. Just the idea of God. Idea of God as understood by Islam? No. The idea of God is understood by people. Because people, when they define God for you, it's a very bad definition. You know what they say? He's all good, but I can't understand why there are natural disasters on earth. He's all wise, But how come there are tornadoes and destruction and people dying in war? If He's all wise and good and loving, why is this happening? There's a contradiction. Don't confuse yourself too much. There's more to that. He's infinite. But if He's infinite, how did He have a beginning? Everything starts. You begin contradicting your own idea and ideology. Islam adds to this. What does it add? That Allah, there is no God, right? Except Allah. Now, how do you define Allah? With Allah's attributes. Jawad, Kareem, generous, Halim, Alim, Jami, Mutakabbir. All of the names of Allah will then define Him for you. You're not just limited to wise and loving. There's more to it. You might think this action in life was a tragedy, but Allah's all wise and Allah's all great. So He knows maybe that which you don't know. Yes, you might do something wrong, but guess what? Allah is Al-Ghafir. He will forgive you. Yes, you may be dispersed in life, but don't forget the one that dispersed you can also gather you, for He is Al-Jami', the gatherer. Yes, people die and there is no justice served upon them. You know, you think about it this way, if you really think about it. If we take this idea that there is just no God, okay? There's no God. So that means we were just born here, it's all one big circus, then once we die, lights out. End of story. What a low, null lifestyle that is. We were born, it's all one big circus, and then once we die, lights out, goodbye. Is that the way you want to live? Is that the way you want to believe? If you respect your intellect, then that's not the way of thinking you would adhere to. It doesn't work like that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not isolated to certain images that people have defined Allah to be so. In which way? You look at this mindset, how Allah is defined in Islam, and you come and put it into terms. That I know that my God is many definitions and is not isolated to one. Okay? So people that die who were evil people, Adolf Hitler, for example, killed 16 million innocent people. Innocent people. You know how he died? He killed himself, suicide. No justice. So all these people, their blood will go in vain. No one will come and punish the man that did all this. If you really accept there's no God, then that's your conclusion. Yep, he got away with it. Too bad, we missed him. Is that really how you want to end the story? Or did you forget that God is also Al-Mutakabbir? That Allah will come and discipline. Allah is intimidating. Yes, He is Rahman, Rahim, Ar-Rahman Mutlaqa, indeed. But there's also another side. Allah is not going to just throw in love unconditionally. You have to earn your love. Allah, He did love you. That's why He made you. If Allah did not love you, He wouldn't have created you. Now He made you, so you know He loved you. But it's up to you to preserve and maintain that love. And if you ever falter, it's okay. Al-Ghafir will forgive you. And if you ever see someone taking the rights of others and no justice is served, it's okay. Al-Mutakabbir, the one that is intimidating and will discipline, will come and discipline them one day. Once you've understood and established that foundation, because you need a foundation in order to construct a building. I want to expand and face the obstacles in my life. I have to first have a good foundation to begin with in order to face other obstacles. So once I have that foundation established, that I believe, okay, fine, God, done, check. God has these attributes, not limited to just 3 or 4, check. God would then, because He is the wise, would not just leave man and womankind without guidance. Never, never. Allah is too good. Allah is too good to leave the world without guidance. Then He sends the manifestation of His guidance. Root word. Manifestation of guidance. Not manifestation of God. Which is what our Christian brothers and sisters say. Allah manifested Himself in a human, and the human came to guide people. Haven't you heard the Trinity? The Son, the Father, the Holy Ghost. Okay? We don't believe in this. That Allah didn't come in the form of a human being. Allah's principles, rather, came in the form of none other than Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And so you find that because God is all wise, He sends prophets. At the same time, all kind and loving. So because He loves you, He doesn't want to see you misguided. So He'll guide you with a set of prophets. Anbiya that will come and guide man and womankind. 124,000 prophets came to use to guide people. Messengers, guiders, men and women. Now, I say women because we have only male prophets. But can a woman be a source of guidance for people? Of course. A source of divine guidance? Indeed. In which way? When you ask, define a Nabi for me. Do you see what we are doing? We established God, now we're establishing Nabuwah. What is this all called? Usuluddin. So we've established God. Check. Every creation must have creator. Done. Maker must exist in order to make something. Done. Now Allah, because He is all of these attributes, He must send us guidance in the form of Anbiya. The question arises, is it true that guidance, divine guidance, only comes in the form of men? No, there are women. Because a lot of the sisters ask, how come there are no prophetesses, female prophets? Define a prophet for me. Somebody sent by God that receives wahi, revelation, uses that revelation to come and guide man and women. Okay. As-Sayyidah Maryam did not receive wahi. She did receive wahi. وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. O Maryam, shake the palm tree, dates will fall. Who spoke to her? Another random person on the street? The angels, Allah. So if you want to define Nabi as someone, or guider, as someone that receives wahi, as Sayyidah Maryam received wahi. Musa's mom received wahi. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى مَا يُوحَىٰ. Musa's mom. So if a Nabi is someone that divine inspiration comes, divine inspiration came to Sayyidah Maryam. Okay. But a Nabi is someone who gets wahi and guides people. Sayyidah Maryam guided people. In fact, she is guiding people. She guided them in her life, and today she's still guiding people. When you read the stories about a mother that goes through challenges and obstacles and tribulations, a single parent, a mother, and the labor that she goes through, that inspiring motivational story, it's still inspiring and enlightening people till today. So she is not only guiding the people of her time, she's also guiding our time. Is that how you want to define a prophet? Wahi, guiding people. Sayyidah Maryam did both. Don't be surprised when you see Allah sends awliya, chosen people, in the form of men and women. Men and women both are taking part in this. The question was, why aren't there any female prophets? Depending on the circumstances, brothers and sisters, that in certain cases, only men were allowed to speak, for example. Only men were given the right to do things that only the society found necessary, for example. But at the same time, Allah will send divine revelation to the females of the certain eras, our specific eras, not just to As-Sayyidah Maryam, not just to Musa's mother, the wife of Fir'aun, but also to the Ahlul Bayt and the women in that family. You look at As-Sayyidah Khadija, Fatima al-Zahra, you look at even Fatima al-Ma'suma, you look at Halima, the granddaughter of Imam Ali I believe. Many of these women are considered chosen by Allah to come and guide man and womankind. Don't be too surprised when you see that form of guidance, that principle manifested in a human form. I'd like to share a story. There was a Muslim revert convention in Canada that I attended years ago, a couple of years ago actually. It's a gathering they had, an event where Muslim converts, people that converted to Islam, come and speak and share their stories and inspire people. There was a sister that went up and she shared her story. She's Canadian originally, and she came from a very strict, rigorous, Catholic Christian background. Her family was very strict. Her father was a minister for a church. And I'm seeing this lady stand and make this statement that she is a Muslimah, she wears hijab. What was the reason why you changed? How could you change? It was a very inspiring story. She said that her family, because they were very indulged with the affairs of the church and the congregation, they did not, her father in particular, did not spend too much time caring for the kids. See, sometimes some scholars, inshallah not Islamic scholars, but unfortunately we find many examples happen. Let's not go down there though. That some scholars will focus so much on work, not even scholars, just fathers in general, so much on work. Or some scholars so much on the religious institution that they'll neglect their family. They'll focus on other families, but they'll neglect their own. So don't be surprised when the son of a certain scholar is smoking, not smoking, a lot of people smoke, but drinking, or hanging with wrong people, or the daughter of this religious man is doing something horrible. Don't be too surprised when that happens, because not every bad tree produces bad apples. Sometimes the family may be bad, but maybe there's one person that shines, and the other way too. The whole tree might be beautiful, but there may be that one bad apple. It doesn't matter. In this religion, you earn your respect not by marriage, who you're married to, who your family is, where you come from, but by merit. Otherwise, Noah's son would have been a good person. Nuh's son died a kafir. Otherwise, you find Qabil would not have killed Habil, son of a Nabi, Ma'soom. He would not have. It does not matter. In this religion, you don't earn your respect because of your family. You earn it because of merit, who you are. Allah won't say, I'm going to judge this person a little bit easier because of his dad was a good person. No, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Allah will judge you according to what you've done in this world and what you will to do. He gave you freedom. You use that freedom to do horrible things. Allah will judge you. Or you use it to do great things. Allah will still judge you. Alright. This sister says, because her family focused so much on other affairs, they neglected them. So whenever she had questions, Dad, we are very practicing religious family. I have questions, and the father wouldn't give time. He wouldn't. She would say that I questioned him so many times on the Trinity. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. It never made sense to me that God is the Son, but He's also the Spirit, but there are only one and God is three. And it was confusing. Dad explained that. The dad was like, not now, I'm busy. Right now, give me the remote. Go give me tea. Go do this. I'll ask you, tell me later. He doesn't give the time that she requires, or she required when she was little. Do you know what happened? This sort of lifestyle is very interesting, because what happens here is when the kid wants the attention of the parents, and the parents neglect them, by the time the kid becomes a teenager, what happens when kids become teenagers? They begin to not care at all. You go look at the son. Hey, how was your day at school? Get out of my face, Dad. How was your exam? Did it go well? You know what? I don't care. Now, when you want their attention, they don't give you. What happens here? You begin to feel depressed as a parent. What happened? How come they don't talk to me? How come they don't give me the attention? Well, you never gave them attention when they wanted your affection, when they wanted your love. When they come and they say, Daddy, look what I did at school. Look at the picture. Even if you don't care, be like, okay, it's nice, mashallah, I'm happy for you. Give the attention now when they are young. Because whatever you do to the child as they are young, as Imam Ali says, that a child's heart is like an uncultivated piece of land. Whatever you put in it, it'll accept and grow. So allow that which goes inside it something beautiful, so it grows the beauty. What better thing to put and plant at the heart of any child except the love of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. So they grow with this love. And I am very happy to see that in this wonderful institution, we have many youth, mashallah, young guys and girls, future people that will come and raise the message of Islam, future brothers and sisters that will come and take the banner and lead this peaceful humanitarianistic message and destroy misconceptions in the society. But it starts when you're young, that when you grow up going to a Husseiniya, going to an institution where the dhikr of Allah is always happening, you grow up with this love and you accept it. And it grows with you. So the more passionate you are, the more passionate you are with your faith, the more closer your faith becomes with you and for you and through you. That is why it is wonderful to see all these wonderful young faces here. And I commend you all for bringing them, commend the parents, of course, for bringing them here, inshallah ta'ala. The sister goes on and continues. She says that I would ask for her questions, my dad wouldn't give me answers. Until one day at school, on my way to school actually, on the bus, I looked at one of my friends who wore hijab. I told her, I was interested, so I wanted to ask her about, her belief, because my belief is very shaky. So I wanted to know a few things about what she believes in. But I was too embarrassed to tell her, you know, what's your belief? How is it like? So all I said was, how's the weather? And that was the kickoff. From how's the weather, to how are you doing, to how are you feeling, to what do you practice, and so on and so forth. The snowball became bigger and eventually grew, and it became this massive thing, and they became friends until this sister said, I was convinced that Islam was the way, and I became Muslim. She became Muslim, she wore hijab, coming from a very strict Catholic family, but that does not come without its reprimands. Remember in the beginning we mentioned that as Muslims we will undoubtedly face obstacles, in particular the Muslimat, the Mu'minat, the Muslim sisters, our sisters. She said, I put hijab on. Do you know how that was like for my family at home? Number one, I was not able to pray in front of my family. I had to pray somewhere secret. I have to hide when I do salah. Could you imagine? And whenever my mother, she says, would see me pray, she would push me. Why? Because she knows, look how cunning this is. She knows that if you are facing the Qibla and you pray, if you shift a little bit, your salah is batil, it's void. She knows this, so she comes and she pushes me. Whenever I'm praying, she breaks and cancels my salah. Later on, she tells me where she went to pray, but she continues. She said, we normally were a family that doesn't really eat meat too much. If anything, chicken, maybe fish. But for some reason, ever since my parents saw that I became Muslim, they deliberately prepared pork every single meal. Pig. They just want me to get out of it. Breakfast, bacon, for like lunch, pork chops, for dinner, something else disgusting with pork, a really horrible thing to be eating. They deliberately prepared that for me, and I just couldn't eat anything. And they started pouring alcohol on the dinner table. We never drank really. Like, we were never a heavy drinking family, but for some reason they started pouring it more as soon as I became Muslim. Look at the struggle this sister had to go through. I mean, we as Muslims, especially the Muslimat, face trials outside of the house. But some of these people face trials in their house. May God help them and give them patience. She said, but I didn't care. I found serenity in my belief. The hijab to me was easy and beautiful. Of course, her hijab wasn't the ideal hijab that you would imagine a Muslim would wear. And sometimes we have to be careful not to ridicule such people. Sometimes just because we see somebody that may not necessarily dress ideally, that does not mean we should reprimand them or marginalize them or ostracize them. You don't know what they are going through. You don't know the struggles they go through on a daily basis. So instead of doing that, marginalizing and ostracizing, how about you come and you motivate, you inspire, you aspire to become like them in resistance. That it's difficult for this person to wear hijab, or this brother to constantly maintain and preserve his faith. Even if they're doing it wrong, it's okay. Let me then just come and help them, not ridicule them. Did you not remember that Al-Hassan wal Hussein alayhim wassalam ala hubbihim sallu ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. When they were young, they noticed that there was an old man doing wudu. And this is a very famous story. This old man was doing wudu, ablution, incorrectly. And so Imam Al-Hassan and Imam Al-Hussein, being young men, we reference the ayah, إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. Fata, fityatun, comes from chivalry, meaning young, brave, courageous, noble, honorable. All of these terms put into one. Where do you find this phrase? La fata illa Ali wa la sayfun illa bil-fiqar. There is no chivalrous champion unlike Ali that is like Ali, and there is no sword like bil-fiqar. Imam Ali was a manifestation of futuwa. Anyhow, Al-Imam Al-Hassan and Al-Imam Al-Hussein would take that chivalrous attitude that their father manifested, and they would expel it to everyone next to them. And so they saw this old man doing wudu wrong. Do you know what they said? Some of us would be like, hey, you're doing wudu wrong. What's wrong with you? You're an old man. You should know how to do wudu by now. Come on. Nope. Al-Imam Al-Hassan and Al-Imam Al-Hussein would approach this man, and they began saying that, and this is a lesson for all of us. They began saying the following. Number one, Assalamu alaikum ya Shaykh. Peace be upon you, O Shaykh. Shaykh in Arabic has two definitions. One, alim deen, scholar, religious leader. That's a shaykh. Number two, elder person. Anybody that's old. A shaykh, a shaykha, the elder women, they are referred to as shaykh. And Imam Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein alayhim as-salam saw this old man doing wudu wrong, but they didn't come and ridicule him. How dare you, you're old, you should know by now. No, no, no. It was like this. Peace be upon you, O our elder man, O Shaykh. We have a question to ask you. So they began by saying, we have a question. Not by saying, here's the answer. No, they said, we have a question. The question came before the answer. What did they do? They said, we want to do wudu, but we both do wudu differently. So can you tell us which one of us did wudu correctly? The Shaykh said, okay, I'll supervise. So Imam Al-Hassan and Imam Hussein did wudu. But one of the Imams, did it incorrectly on purpose. So the old man looked at him, he's like, I think you're doing wudu wrong. And it looks like you're doing wudu correctly. But I have to admit, I believe I did that same exact type of wudu. It was also incorrect. Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to go and correct my wudu now. Look at the method of Ahlul Bayt when it comes to informing others. Some of us, we like to behave like the haram police. Haram, 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 all the way to hell. As if we know hell and heaven. We own it somehow. We have the keys to Jannah and the keys to hell. And we throw people in whoever we want. And we put people in Jannah whoever we like. That's not how it works, brothers and sisters. Instead of being the haram police, hey, your hijab is 2 inches off where it needs to be. Hey, your manners should behave this way. Hey, you forgot to say Bismillah. Instead of being like that, be like the Imams when they manifested these issues. When they manifested the solution to these issues. They have an obstacle in front of them, but they come and they resolve it using a method that did not harm the individual, nor did it harm them. So whenever I face any obstacle, maybe I want to guide somebody, but the person is really misguided. So the only way to help guide them is by being very firm. No, no, no. Always refer back to our belief system for whatever aspect in life. There is no aspect except that Islam has intervened in and has given a solution to. And we are so grateful. By Allah, we are so lucky to come from a family, to come from a household that not only is Muslim, but has love for the Ahlul Bayt, Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam. We recognize that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt did not leave this world without guiding us in all aspects of our lives. This sister, my dear respected brothers and sisters, then finished her speech. As mentioned, this was many years ago. When she concluded her speech, she came down, I approached her. I asked her, you mentioned that you couldn't pray at home, that salah was very hard to do. Your mother, if she saw you, she would push you. And she also said that I would take opportunity whenever my parents left the home to do salah. That whenever they would leave, I would then pray. Otherwise, if they're home, I can't pray. So where would you pray then? My question was to her. She says, and do you know where she would pray her salah? She would pray at the cemetery, the graveyard. She would go to where people are buried just to perform Salatul Dhuhr, wal-Asr, wal-Maghrib, wal-Isha, and sometimes even Fajr. That she would go to the cemetery just to do Salah. Brothers and sisters, some of us take our Salah for granted, I tell you so. That when Salah comes and we're sitting on our cell phone, it's Salah time, 5 more minutes. You're watching your favorite TV show. It's Salah time, let's go, Adhan. Let the episode finish. Brothers and sisters, when you say 5 more minutes, let the episode finish, let this conclude, then I'll pray, what you are doing is you're prioritizing salah above Allah. Allah, Rabbul Alameen, wants to talk to you. You can wait. I have to finish playing Fortnite. I have to finish doing this activity. I'm Snapchatting. Allah, give me 5 more minutes. I'm Snapchatting. I would appreciate if the door would stop opening right here, brothers and sisters. It's kind of light. I would look at someone, and it's not just the youth. I see older people like me, you know, we're all guilty of this sometimes. Where we see somebody, salah, 5 more minutes. Let this episode finish. I'm almost done. Okay, what you're saying is, Allah, you can wait. I don't want to talk to you now. Give me 5 more minutes. Okay, if it was, let's say, the president, and they want to speak to you, you'd be there 5 hours before the appointment came. They want to come and speak to you. Okay, not this president. But let's say some very important person comes and asks you, hey, me and you have a meeting. We're just going to talk. We're going to have a chat. Come, let's have a conversation. And this person is very influential to you. Someone you really respect. Imagine, maybe, let's bring a name. Imagine someone like Nelson Mandela. A very inspirational individual. a very big humanitarian, very motivating, comes and says, I want to talk to you. The appointment is 1 o'clock. Do you have time? That's an honor, someone that's very great. Or think about a great alim deen, a scholar. Think like Ayatollah Sistani, hafidhahullah. Says, me and you, we're going to have a conversation. Talk about anything. But the appointment is 2 o'clock. Are you going to go at 2? Nope. You're going to be there 5 hours before. How about the one that created Nelson Mandela? The one that created our ulama, that created you, that created mama and baba and the earth and all the great things that you know and love? How about when they want to talk to you? Isn't that an honor? But guess what? Not just once, 5 times. Speak to me. Return back to me. I made you. Remember why I made you is because I loved you. I love you so much. Give me 5 times of the day. Come and return to me. Talk to me. What's your issue? When you are doing salah, we mentioned this earlier with the sister program. As you are doing qunut is wajib or mustahab? Mustahab, it's not wajib. But don't skip qunut. Because this is a dua right here. When you do this, our scholars and ulama say you can speak in any language you want. Why? Because it's a dua. Dua is not reserved or exclusive to Arabic. No. Quran is reserved to Arabic. But dua is not. A dua is you ask Allah for something on behalf of something. Ya Allah, on behalf of your rahmah, bless me and my family. Ya Allah, on behalf of Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam, bless me, guide us, help us, our trials. Allow my friend, to pass their test in life, in their exams. Talk to Allah. Speak in English. Go ahead. Raise your hand. This is your time. Allah wants to speak to you. Don't say 5 more minutes. You're prioritizing your phone. You're prioritizing the computer, the TV, your, laziness over Allah. How long does salah take? Honestly, how long? Salatul Fajr, just 2 rak'ahs. How long does it normally take? Kullish, like 3 minutes. Some of you said 2. Some of you said 2 seconds. Inshallah, it doesn't take 2 seconds. But really, if it takes too much time, as most, probably like 4 minutes. If anything, 5. The most. Otherwise, if you skip the mustahabbat and everything, it's a very quick salah. That is gone. Dhuhr, Asr. Not more than 10 minutes, 9 minutes if you concentrate on your prayer properly. Not more than that. In total, your prayers of the day should not take more than like 15, maybe 20 minutes. Shouldn't take longer than that. You have 24 hours to be on phone, to play your games, to watch your TV shows, to watch Netflix, to go outside, to Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. I know this stuff too, I'm not that old. To play, to just use the social media, to just enjoy your life. 24 hours, you got it. But for 15 minutes, Allah who created these things for you wants to say, I have a conversation. Let's come and talk. You have problems in life? Speak to me. Open your heart. It's time. And the obstacles we go through in life, brothers and sisters, are not limited there. As Muslims, it's incumbent upon us to watch out for what happens to us in forms of threat. As mentioned, Islamophobia in 2016, I'm not trying to scare anybody, spiked at 16% higher than it was in 9/11, okay? When it was really bad. It spiked 16% higher. At that point, when you start seeing your society become a threatening society, consider many things. Number one, if you really cannot live in a place or your school, try to get adults involved in your supervision. Speak to a teacher. These people are bullying me. I say this because just recently we had a sister who got her hijab pulled off at one of the local schools around here. They say the hijab was pulled off because people bullied her. What's that on your head? Take that off. It's look ugly. Show us your hair. What are you, bald? And so they just literally ripped off the hijab. Look, if it gets to that point, I say it's incumbent upon all of our sisters to learn to defend themselves. Islam did not limit it. Islam wasn't limited to just Quran, aqa'id, theology. There's more to that. Do you not know that Rasulullah would say to the Muslimin, عَلَّمُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ الرِّمَايَةَ وَالسِّبَاحَةَ وَرُكُوبَ الْخَيْلِ. Teach your children. Listen, he said أَوْلَادَكُمْ. Teach your children, not your sons only. So girls are involved. Teach your children archery, bow and arrow, archery. It's an interesting skill, archery. Then teach them sibaha, swimming. Let them be physically fit, swim. A Muslim is not just someone that sits lazy, all they do is tasbih. Be active. And that body Allah gave you is an amana. Doesn't matter if you're little or you're 90, still maintain your health. And then he says, وَرُكُوبَ الْخَيْلِ, horseback riding. You know, why are these skills the ones that Rasulullah picked? It's because these are skills that are still popular today. That today they transcend time. Especially in Texas, you could ride horses. They're everywhere, mashallah. In the Grand Prairie or whatever, you could ride horses. But why though? Why? Is it just because here's a talent that I want to learn? No. They require concentration when you want to learn archery. It's a matter of honing your skills, sharpening your mind to concentrate where, calculate the air, the resistance, the flow, the pressure you need to pull back. It's a matter of many disciplines put together. Rasulullah wants to develop the mind, not just the body. And then he says swimming. Swimming, just in case, let's say, la sama'Allah, God forbid, you fall and you're going to drown, you know how to swim. Or when someone falls in water, you can save them. It's a life asset and lesson. And then horseback riding, when you create a connection, a union with an animal, and the trust is built, and that bond is there, you begin to reflect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even more. As we mentioned, Islam did not leave anything in this life except that it mentioned it or has an affair with it. Especially Islam Ahlul Bayt. My dear respected brothers and sisters, I would like to recognize that tonight is our last night, and I have been honored to be amongst you all here today. But also, we also highlight the martyrdom of Sayyida al-Tahira, Sayyida Zahra alayha salam in these nights. As mentioned in the night before, there are 3 narrations indicating when she died. It was either 40 days, 75 days, or 95 days after the martyrdom of Rasulullah. But to conclude everything we mentioned, as far as passing obstacles in our lives, nobody manifested it the most other than the mother of Fatima Zahra alayha salam, As-Sayyida Khadija salamullahi alayha. I would like you to take your minds to the time in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam was spending his final moments with As-Sayyida Khadija, and see how the relationship between her and the lady we are commemorating during these nights today is. You find, my dear respected brothers and sisters, Rasulullah, when Sayyida Khadija, by the way, passed away, the same year Abu Talib passed away, alayhi salam, the uncle of Rasulullah. These two were the backbone to Rasulullah. To the point Rasulullah said that this year is Amul Huzn, the year of grief and sadness and sorrow. You find the Holy Prophet would be sitting next to his wife as she was on her deathbed, as Sayyida Khadija alayhi salam. And she would say, "Oh my beloved husband, Ya Rasulullah, I have 3 wills I want you to take care of and watch over. These 3 things, oh my beloved Prophet, make sure they are achieved and accomplished." Rasulullah would say, "Oh my beloved wife, what is it that you want me to accomplish?" In the room was Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. She was about 7 years old. 7 years old. Remember, when you're that young and you lose a family member, it's not easy on the heart. It never is easy, especially for a yatima like Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. You find that as Sayyida Khadija would say, "Oh Rasulullah, make sure, will number one, I want you to forgive me for any shortcoming I may have had in my life." Rasulullah would say, "Oh my beloved wife, you had no shortcomings. You did not do anything that was out of the ordinary, that was wrong. Oh my beloved wife, you have no shortcomings." She would then say, "Ya Rasulullah, my second will is to you. I want you to know something, however I'm too shy to tell you. I would like to tell Fatima, the 7-year-old there, maybe she'll convey you the message." Rasulullah leaves the room. Fatima Zahra follows him, and she says, "Oh Abata, my beloved father, my mother Khadija says that she wants you to give her your shirt, that shirt that sees angels come down, wahy and revelation. She wants you to give her the shirt and use it as a kafan for her." Rasulullah returned back to the room to his beloved wife Khadija, and he said to her, "My beloved wife, indeed I will give you my shirt, but tell me, what is the last will that you want me to do?" Sayyidah Khadija then said, "Oh my beloved husband, Ya Rasulullah, أوصيك بهذه اليتيمة بهذه الغريبة Oh my beloved husband, Ya Rasulullah, watch out for this young daughter, watch out for this orphan. She was pointing at Fatima to Zahra. Why, Ya Sayyidati? She would then continue, make sure no women harass her, make sure nobody angers her. I say, Sayyidati Khadija, you said make sure no women harass her. Did you see what the men do to her on that day? That calamity on the Thursday when they came and they took her rights, when they came and they abused Fatima to Zahra, when they came and they caused the miscarriage to happen and Muhsin was dead and killed that moment. Oh Khadija, if you only saw what the men did to Zahra, what would you have said? Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalibin yanqalibun. Faraj anna ya Allah. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. 10 times يا الله 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 يا الله. إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها شافي مرضانا، اقضي حوائجنا، فرج عنا، اقضي ديننا. إلهي بالزهراء ارزقنا زيارة الزهراء في الدنيا، وإلهي بحق الزهراء ارزقنا شفاعة الزهراء في الآخرة. My dear respected brothers and sisters, I was told that we have had a Fatiha here, and so inshallah we will recite Surah Al-Fatiha وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء، سيما المرحوم الحاج أياد رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة بعد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.